territory it lost all over Russia, much bigger than the Chechen terrorist threat was back in the day. The offensive part of the campaign would likely be over by the spring. Ukraine would be in no shape to retake territory it lost on its own. By then, Russia might have taken additional territory the size of Michigan or the United Kingdom, though not with all its population, as it's likely millions would flee westward. Still, even if as much as half the population flees, Ukraine would lose and Russia would likely gain almost 8 million people. Would Russia suffer economically due to the invasion? The EU and the US would impose sanctions for sure. If those end up including everyday goods, Russia might find itself in a problem, as it exports almost half of its goods to the EU. Exports to the US are fairly small. When it comes to imports, things are not much different, so all that trade being cut off would be a hugely negative event for Russia, though the EU would also be somewhat impacted. The EU imports some 100 billion euros worth of goods from Russia annually, while it exports some 8-ish billion euros worth of goods. The US itself is very little dependent on trade with Russia. Under 1% of US exports and imports are Russia-related. Russia itself is a bit more dependent on the US, but not by much, with imports from the US accounting for some 5% of Russia's total imports. Cutting most trade off would be hard, but in theory doable for most EU countries. Even if not all countries agree, the US could unilaterally influence the international SWIFT payment system, basically doing to Russia what it did to Iran, and preventing most countries from trading with it effectively. But Russia has been establishing an alternative payment system with China. Indeed, much if not all of the items to Russia would find itself without could be replaced by China, not overnight, but in due time. Of course, oil and gas could hurt the EU more in the short term. On average, the EU imports a huge amount of crude oil, natural gas and coal from Russia. Two areas would be hit the most: electricity generation and heating. Winter months will make the EU's problems worse for both, but especially for heating. So now the timing of Russian military buildup leading to the start of winter starts to make sense, as well as Putin's insistence that negotiations must not be stalled. It was in Russian interest to pressure the West for negotiations to be blunt and short. So if Russia does attack, it would be when the EU is at its most vulnerable, dependent on Russia for a big chunk of its heating and electricity needs. Then again, Europe has curtailed its purchases of Russian gas in December on its own, as it tries to diversify its suppliers and move away from long-term contracts with Russia. Will the EU be able to sustain itself with little Russian gas really depends on the harshness of this year's winter. If rolling blackouts start and whole neighborhoods are periodically devoid of gas for heating, unity within the EU might be put to the ultimate test. Even if the SWIFT payment system is unavailable, it's not unimaginable that certain EU countries would still give an arm and a leg paying through other goods and commodities to Russia, or simply obstruct the EU's unity on sanctions to Russia. Once April comes and energy demands dwindle, Russia's position might be bleaker, which is why if Russia does invade, it probably plans to achieve most of what it wants within a mere month or two. But what about a more distant future? There's a strong possibility that Russia would be faced with exactly the thing it didn't want, with another NATO-aligned country bordering territory it controls. Whatever is left of Ukraine would be fiercely anti-Russian and most likely populated by NATO forces as well. In practice, that means Russia would lose that part of Ukraine for good.
So this is a book of Ezekiel 2. I've started verse 9. It reads, "And when I looked, behold, a hand was sent unto me, and a roll of book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without. And there was written therein lamentations, mourning, and woe." Lamentations, mourning, and woe. In this video, you were watching, this was going to this dude known as being Kov's battleground. He do a lot of lesson concerning what might happen if Israel invade Iran, what might happen if China invade Taiwan, and I think this dude is have some kind of knowledge about the battleground and what you call military logistics and the geopolitical at large. So if you listen to him, you get something, man. You see, so in this video, he was going to what might happen if Russia does attack Ukraine, and he was going to a lot of point in the first few weeks what will take place in the 1 month, 2 months, is what will Russia do, what will the West do, what will the US and Britain do, and what will the Eastern European country do. And the most interesting part in which caught my attention is the repercussion after that, in which, from what I understood, and from what he was saying, trouble time are coming through these different region wars, man. If you think right now the supply chain are worse, inflation is worse, just wait until there is a region war. Not necessarily would you see a region war. Let's say over there in Ukraine, that's a major route right there of natural gas and everything to Europe. See? So over there, the European country, it will be brick for you. See? No enough energy to heat your house during winter and whatever, man. See? Everything will come into a standstill. And considering that region over there, see, not necessarily Ukraine is a valley of Yehoshaphat there. There is a lot of gaffs, but you have the Gulf of Oman, you have the Strait of Hormuz, and you have the, what you call, the Indian Ocean, the northern east and the northern west of the Indian Ocean. Those are major trade routes, man. And over there in the valley of Yehoshaphat, which is the Persian Gulf, that's the middle. If you consider the Asia, that's the middle of the whole entire Asia. A lot of plane passes there. There is a lot of interactions, man. So to examine this in a very keen eye, man, there is a lot of trouble coming, man, because what you see won't just start as you see, it will be a build-up. That's why there is what we call a build-up to the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is not just a single day, it is a build-up. And in that build-up, you have what we call region war. Because Audio 3 or Audio 2 or Audio 1 started as region wars. Case in point, when you go to Audio 2, see a lot of countries were in trouble, and America came as their what you call to rescue them, because America at that time was economically stable. Because America did not participate in many wars, the economy was good. Regardless, we came out of the great economic depression, America was still good. It was able to lend some money to different countries and whatever, if we go to that history. And another thing I noticed here is a line have been drawn. Like again, back in your 2, you have the Allied force, and you have the Axis force. They are fighting together. You have countries who changed lane in the mid-sea. See, as far as the Bible prophecy is concerning, NATO will change lane in the mid-sea. I don't know what will happen. See, so even like I'm telling you, trouble is coming. See, inflation, the price of oil will skyrocket, and the price of oil determine what your food will be sold, because you need the oil to take food from America to Britain, from Britain to Africa, from Africa to America, from Africa to China, from China to Africa. You need the energy. And if the price of energy is scarce, man, your food will be more expensive. And you will have what you call embargoes. And you have embargo which are done strategically, like who you call sanctions Those are strategically, and you will have physical embargo. You will, let's say you will have troop on the Strait of Hormuz, in which there is a law like I think like 20 to 30% of all the things they pass there. You will have one army there. That's physically, man. So embargoes and sanctions, they won't be only through what you call SWIFT, the SWIFT system, like he was saying here. You have physical embargoes, man. That's what happened back in the day. They cut off your supply chain. Going back to the siege of Jerusalem, what did the Roman army do? They cut off all the supply chain, man. That's where really trouble came, man. You see? So these region wars we are approaching in, you have a lot of region wars, you are boiling. You have Ukraine and Russia, you have China and Taiwan, you have Iran and Israel. And what really happened during these major wars, if two countries go to war, guess what? Another country go to war, another country go to war. It's like in North Korea. North Korea have been waiting all day long to invade South Korea. China have been waiting all day long to invade Taiwan. Israel have been waiting all day long to invade Iran. And so forth and so forth and so forth. You might be surprised even over there in the European country, some certain country will turn to each other, man. So that's why I brought the book of Ezekiel. You see, 2, I started verse 9, saying, when I looked, behold, a hand was sent unto me, and a roll of book was therein. The roll of book that was going to the Bible. He said, he spread it before me, it was written within and without, and there was written there in lamentation, mourning and woe, trouble. You see, and one among major trouble in which will come is lack of food. You know, we are living in the 21st century. See, when you tell somebody there will be lack of food in the near future, he might be scratching his head and be like, man, what are you talking about, man? But that's what it is, man. Lamentation, woe and mourning. See, that's what you're coming, man. Just here to tell you what's coming, man. How it will come, we don't know. So let's go to the book of 2 Ezra 16. I've started verse 1. It reads, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Basically, that's the whole entire earth. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Assyria. That's going to America. Gird up yourself with clothes of sack and hair. Bewail your children. See, bewail your children. Because of what? Because of the coming lamentation, woe and mourning. They will be spearheaded with this different religion war, geopolitical conflict. That's why Esau was very afraid, man. I was listening to one dude, he was very concerned. Not one dude, it was Tucker Carlson. He was very concerned with having Russia as your enemy, because the American and Russia, they are at par militarily, which is more difference, man. Heavily equipped, they have all the nuke. Be sorry for your destruction is at hand. A sword is sent upon you. That's destruction, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? And plague is sent unto you, and what is that may drive them away? See? May one turn again is the arrow that is short of a strong archer. That goes going to the plague, man. See? Let me see. Evil shall grow. It was verse 21. It says, behold, the victor shall be good, cheap upon the earth. That's what is going on. People are into Bitcoin, people are into this. That's the victor being cheap upon the earth. When you tell them trouble is coming, they'll be like, man, get the hell out of here, man. That they shall think themselves to be in a good case, and even then shall evil and grow upon the earth. This different boiling point, man, upon the geopolitical world. They will bring trouble. And consider a tree. When a tree is growing up, you don't see, if you plant a tree, let's say a mango tree, you won't notice that tree growing up until it starts yielding some fruit. The same thing with evil. You won't see evil now growing. You are oblivious to it until that evil really come in a city near you. let's say if you are staying in Manhattan or whatever, man. See, evil in the city near you, ground invasion, man. See, blackout. This dude was talking about the blackout, man. Rolled out the blackout. They will just tell you to because, man, you don't have enough gas to light up your home or whatever reason, because of a cyber attack from Russia. It's hackers, they will be blaming to hackers have hacked their electricity, like what happened in Texas. You see, that evil growing up, evil will grow up to the extent that you won't even notice. You see, you won't even remember it. For here on the planet Earth to go back to what we call the medieval time. See, people eating people's meat and whatever, no food and whatever. You have a scenario like in Mad Max. You see, the whole entire world to go into a Mad Max like scenario, it won't even take a week or 2 weeks. You see, so that is even then shall evil grow upon the earth, showed the famine in a great confusion. You see, showed famine in a great confusion. That is lamentation in woe and mourning. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. You see, and the others that escape the hunger shall the soul display. That was going on toward your sea. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the seed shall be cast. There shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. The tree shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grape shall ripen, and who shall treat them? For all place shall be desolate of men. That's going to this different blockade, man. People just stand there with an young reference in the Caribbean. They broke that channel over there. See, they're going to Guatemala and whatever, man, Panama. See, or over in the Horn of Africa or the Mediterranean Sea. They stage a blockade, man. See, no food will be going and coming out. See, it says the tree shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grape shall ripen, and who shall treat them? Or for all place shall be desolate of men. Why all place shall be desolate of men? Because of what you call military drafting. See, you will be drafted, man, to go and defend your country, man, so that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. For of a seed shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hid themselves in the thick grove. You see, it will reach a point in New York time we will find out thick grove growing. See, no people to go through it. In the cleft of the rock, in the orchard of the olive, upon every tree there are left 3 or 4. See? And the earth shall be laid waste, and the field therefore shall wax old, and her ways in all her paths shall grow full of stone. And this also is going into what we call the nuclear winter, what we call the post-apocalyptic. See, because no man shall travel therefore, because Yahweh it will take 1,000 years for Yahweh to restore peace. Yes, so what will be happening in the 1,000 years? It will be a post-apocalyptic like scenarios, which is actually another lesson for another time, man. Because a lot of people think it will just end with what you see. No, man. A lot is coming after that. So this is a special arm. I hope we will define on to the next.